Not much to say about the Ika Origami's origins. It was created at some time between when Genta and Takeru parted ways 10 years earlier when they were kids, when Takeru handed over the Ika disc, and Genta had established his own brand of electronic Mojikara, which allows him to create electronic Mojikara using his cell phone sushi changer. And so when we're first introduced to the Ika Origami, it's actually swimming inside of the little aquarium on Genta's sushi cart, along with another mysterious lobster-looking thing. As the battle escalates to giant size, the Aikashi monster of the week turns himself invisible and is able to initiate attacks on Tenku Shinken-Oh. However, Shinken-Gold summons the Ika Origami, gets inside, and uses its special attack to shoot an ink cloud at the enemy to make him visible, and then he wraps the Origami's tentacles around the Ayakashi monster, beating him senseless before Tenku Shinken-Oh finishes him off. Samurai Gattai Series number 4, Ika Origami, comes with the Ika Hiden disc. Now, for me, this is the first time I've ever had to deal with a disc like this, and this is only one of 2 hidden discs that has this folding feature on it. Now, why would it do that? Well, because this is one of Shinken-Gold's hidden discs, and so it is meant to interact with the sushi changer, which I will never be getting. So I am not going to be demonstrating why this happens. Basically, you take the folded up rice cell phone changer, you stick this on the top, and then that's it. That's all it does. So that is why these things fold up. Of course, heaven forbid the sushi changer would actually be able to uniquely identify this disc when it's attached to it. You know, there could be some little tabs or something sitting up there. You stick it on the top and it recognizes it. No, you got to punch the goddamn buttons on there. What a waste of a gimmick. But of course, the Ika disc can still interact with the Shinken-Maru. That is, of course, the unifying gimmick of the series, is these hidden discs and how they move. Now, in case you haven't noticed, it's got these rather large splits going in the middle. See in the reflection there? It's got that huge split, which just cuts right through the picture. There's only 2 parts where the picture is completely whole. So when you activate the praxinoscope, you get whoa. Yeah, that's another problem too with these 2 discs, is they don't latch into position. So if you try and spin it, you're likely to make it go down like that. So what does it look like when you do that? Well, it looks like Shinken-Gold's chopping up the disc. So, yeah, nothing really particularly special there. I mean, it's nice animation to have, it's just, it's got those splits running through it, so it's real difficult to see what's going on. Of course, like the other Samurai Gattai series sets, the Ika disc can be plugged directly into the associated origami. Fold these up, and you just stick it on there like that. Now, in the show, officially the toy can't do this, but in the show, these actually fold back and forth when it's floating through the air. So, yeah, it is possible, and it's actually part of a later transformation, but officially, the Ika Origami is displayed with the Ika disc folded up. Of the 4 regular Samurai Gattai series sets, I think it's safe to say that the Ika Origami is not only the largest, but also the heaviest. Rather simple detail. Very subtle detail here is there's a couple of grooves sitting right here. Some more stuff here. Take the Ika disc off. There's more stuff sitting there. The disc does not turn side to side. I'll get to that later. Now, on an actual squid, a couple of things. 1, this is the mouth. 2, the eyes would be to the sides, not on the top. And 3, it floats in this direction because it uses the tentacles to whoop, whoop, whoop through the air. Actually, now that I think about it, I think it would swim in this direction because the ink thing would actually be on the bottom. Not that a squid really worries about. Careful, it's unstable! Which direction it's facing. Anyways, like all squid, the Ika Origami has 2 longer tentacle arms although it only has 3 regular-sized tentacle arms. I like the sucker detail on them. Oh no, those look more like bolts than they do suckers to me. And more suckers on the arms than on the larger arms. Something I've tried to hide up to this point. Careful, you'll poke an eye out. That can spin. It pops apart easily. Officially, you're supposed to have it this way. Sometimes it's nice to have it that way, but you can see there's a lot more kibble holes and such sitting there. So, Posability. Not posability. Materials. The whole Ika origami is made of ABS except for these arms here and these dorsal fins here. Are those dorsal fins? Can't remember the term. Anyways, posability. An origami with posability on it. How about that? Yeah, it's all due to transformation, but, it's certainly welcome to have. These all ratchet to a couple of different positions. And then the main arms can go, careful, watch your fingers, way up here. This can move, but just because of transformation. Or you can put it down no farther than that because it bumps into this thing right here. You can't make the arms any lower than that. Actually, I like displaying it like this. Lifts it up off the ground a little bit. Makes a nice little tripod for it. Oh, one other thing, was it the ink squid cannon, I think? You move this up and down, although it latches into this, or ratchets into this position. So that is the Ika origami all by itself. The Ika origami doesn't really do much until Act 18 in the next episode. Okay, I've had to do this 3 previous times. I shouldn't really have to explain why it is you remove these things. However, this time, you do not remove the helmet. Wow, they broke the trend again by changing how it transforms and what it transforms into. Bandai, Plex, Toei, do I even need to say it? No, I don't. Of course, like any decent origami, there's bound to be some parts swapping. And button there, squeeze together, that pops off. Going to open this up. See, I told you it'd be involved in the transformation. Carefully wedge your finger in here, because there's not a lot of space. So there's that. And then with these, you're going to 1, 1. Because that looks loads different. Now let's put it all together. After the last video that I made, I put that Kabuto thingy back in the box. But yeah, another one comes with the Ika origami and you have to stick it in there. Well, you don't have to, but it says you're supposed to. Careful, watch your fingers. Stick that in there. This goes over here, like that. And then take this and try and get a good grip on it, Ava. Stick it in the hand there. And there you have the Ika Shinken-Oh. Oh, this one takes up a lot of space. Wow, there's a lot involved here. A couple different pieces. Officially, this is mounted to the forearm, and it acts as kind of a forearm blade / shield type thing. So you can actually attach it to the lower arm and swing it about. It doesn't, in the series at least, it doesn't attach to the upper arm, only the lower arm and the fist. So anyways, there's that. And then for the finishing attack, which I can't think of off the top of my head, you can push this button here. Careful, you'll poke an eye out, and extend that. Although I usually leave it out, so. But anyways, yeah, that's an option. This thing, I honestly, ladies and gentlemen, I have no idea what the hell this is supposed to be. It's not exactly a shield, because, well, that's what this thing is. But it can block attacks, but primarily what it's used for some kind of freezing gas or something like that. They freeze their opponents, they gather lightning from these 2 antler horn thingies, and then they use this thing to slash open the enemies. So that's how this whole thing works. So, but the problem with this is because of these two things, it will not point straight down. See? It won't point straight down. It won't let it. Of course, as you know, if you leave it like that, you wear out the springs and eventually the plastic. It also doesn't... It's also really tricky to get it in here and even to get it out because it's such a tight fit in there. So posability on the left arm is a bit on the challenging side. How about the backpack now? Well, it's not a helmet. Here's my question. Why isn't that a helmet? I don't know. There's the product information right there. Trademarks, etc., etc., etc. Oh, I'm going to drop it. Oh, don't shake it! And then that up there. And it attaches to the same places that all the other origami have. So that is it for the Shinken-Oh. Now, because I find the DX Daikai-O to be incredibly ugly and a parts former and not really that entertaining on any level, I cannot show you the Ika Daikai-O combination. However, I can show you Ika's half of it. Take this thing off again, and all you're going to do is just plug this into the chest. Then you take everything that's left over, fold it together, and these two snap together right there. Pull open the handle, and then you attach this to the right arm of the Ika Daikai-O. Now, I ask you, ladies and gentlemen, what the hell is this supposed to be? I mean, I can understand this being chest armor, whatever. That, by the way, that's kind of ugly chest armor, especially on the Daikai-O. But what the hell is this supposed to be? I don't think even the stunt guys who are wearing the Ika Daikai-O stunt suit know what this thing is or how to use it. So, what the hell is this? I don't know. But I'm kind of glad that I don't have the Daikai-O because I don't have to show you. Some episodes later, Genta figures out a way to create the Maru, which is capable of uniting all the powers of the origami together into a black box about yay big, which can uniquely identify and read hidden discs. Here's my question. Why couldn't the Shinken Maru, the Sakana Maru, the Sushi Changer, and the Shoto Phone do that? Because they had to pimp another toy. An accessory, no doubt, which looks ugly as hell when you put it onto the Shinken Maru. Because the whole thing sits about this big on top, and you have to fold it up and you sit on. And oh, by the way, you know what? There's so much that's wrong with the whole concept of the Maru that I'm not even going to continue talking about it. And don't you dare ask me if I'm going to get it or review it or not, because I will delete your comment. That thing pisses me off. Bandai and Plex need to learn to integrate their series-wide gimmicks into every single toy, not change it halfway through. That's bullshit. Anyways, the Shin Samurai Gattai Daikai Shinken-Oh is formed with the help of the Maru, but the Ayakashi Monster of the Week has this real overpowered thing and I can't be beaten kind of thing going. And so the Shinkenger realize that they need a more powerful weapon, because the two little blades on the Daikai Shinken-Oh just aren't cutting it. Now, as I stated earlier, I am never, ever, ever going to get the Daikai-O. Fortunately for me, however, I am not required to get the Daikai-O in order to form the Ika Tenku Buster. You could start off in Dai-Tenku form, but I prefer to do this from the individual origami. Either way, there is a lot of parts forming involved. A lot of shifting around of stuff. Wow, a part that actually transforms. Still don't like the way this taps together. However, instead of this time doing it this way, you can turn it around so it covers the whole face. Wow, the Tora's head gets really mistreated in the origami system, doesn't it? And the Ika origami is no different. Now, unlike the Ika Daikai-O, you do not bring these all the way together. You actually keep them apart a little bit. Then you have to be careful about this, the alignment of everything. You stick this in here,
like this. Now if you want to separate this, it's actually rather strong. There's another pair of, there's a button there, and a button there. You squeeze those together and it'll pop out just fine. So that's actually a rather solid connection right there. Okay, let's get retarded. Stick that there. You're going to plug 1, 2, 3, 4 into those holes right there, which is actually a very solid connection. There. That goes there, right there. And you're probably asking yourself why it is they would incorporate a little puny little thing like that, unless it had something to do with the transformation. Matter of fact, it does. See that right there? Plugs into there. This plugs into here. 1 and 2. And for laughs, I like to, whoops, something fell. And for laughs, I like to stick that out. And there you have, ladies and gentlemen, the Ika Tenku Buster, which, with the amount of Mojakar that it drains, is so powerful midway through the series that it can only be fired once. Which does more or less the same thing that the Dai Tenku can do, except this time it has all 4 of these things attached and they're all facing the same direction. Notice that there is no movement whatsoever from the Ika origami. Notice this. In the show, this thing bounces back and forth. But no, there's no internal tie-ups or anything like that. It's just this. So that is the special feature of the Ika Tenku Buster. Now, the instructions say that you can hang on to it down here, but because it's got the Taurus head and that little halo sitting down there, no, you can't hang on to it down there. Not that you really need to. This tripod is actually very sturdy. So that is it for the Ika Tenku Buster. Now, this is usually only seen with the Daikai Shinken-Oh combination. However, the Daikai Shinken-Oh doesn't have anything to hold on to, which means that you can put any Samurai Kyojin back here. Say, for example, the Shinken-Oh. See, it doesn't go anywhere near it. And it can't really. If you want to spin this thing right here, this is the Tora disc. If you want to spin that, it can't really get any closer to that. Nothing for it to hang on to. So, a lot of ground to cover. First off, is this an origami? As far as the other Samurai Gattai series sets go, technically yes, it is an origami. But, as we all know, it doesn't behave like actual origami like those found in the DX Shinken-Oh set, which I actually really enjoyed. That being said, the Ika has a little more flexibility to it than any of the other Samurai Gattai series sets. The one that had the most possibility was the Tora, and all you had was these arms, and it just looked god-awful when you raised them. So, you know, that doesn't really count, and it didn't really look like legs, and it just looks god-awful. It looks like it's pregnant. But this actually does something. The arms are actually posable on their own. There's no transformation where the arms go up that high, and these never fold inward like this. So you do have a little bit of posability, and yeah, it can also do this, which it doesn't do that very much in the show, but it does it. So by itself, at least you can interact with it a little bit just on its own, as an origami all by itself. And the details are appropriate enough. But here's my problem. They broke the trend again. With the Kabuto, Kajiki, and Tora Origami, each and every one of them had a hidden disc gimmick where you would spin the disc and then it would activate something else just on the origami itself. And sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't. That just depended on personal preference and taste. You know, I can't comment on that. But the Ikko origami does absolutely nothing with its hidden disc. Not just because this folds, and, you know, there would have been, you know, something that would fold over it, cover it up, just like with the other three. But, you know what? If this could spin, you know what would happen? Two things. Two things would have been acceptable. Turn this, and the spear thing pops in and out. That would have been acceptable. Or, turn this, and, you know, lift this up, and then these spin. Either one of those would have been completely acceptable for me. But no. It has that fold-up thing, it's completely stacked, and you have to do that. This is about as useless up here, a gimmick, as the falling Daishinkin thing was with the Kajiki Shinken-Oh, where it's not that you twirl the hidden disc and then the sword falls down. No, you had to physically tip it over yourself. So this thing, yeah, it's a spring-loaded gimmick. Kids will get a laugh out of that. While it does that, it's not tied in. This, again, the trend is broken. And it's just, that's completely unacceptable. For the most part, this works. But what worked in the previous three sets doesn't apply here. They could easily have incorporated a spinning hidden disc feature in there. You know, easily. There's plenty of space in there. So, again, Plex, Bandai being lazy. Boo, hiss. But the Ikko origami overall, not bad. The spinning disc thing and this thing pops out also applies here. With the Kabuto and Tora Shinken-Oh combinations, you would spin the disc and something would move. With the Kajiki Origami, it was just fail. Watch my video of that to see my complaint there. But, you know, spinning thing here. Nothing spins anywhere on here. The other thing I don't like is this. If it had been a, what can I call it? If it had been a, kind of a shield, like an actual shield, or shaped a little more like a blaster like these, it stretched out a little more along the arm, that would have been interesting. Or if it had been like Shinken Yellow's, what was that thing called? The Land Slicer, that three-pronged boomerang thing. If it had been like that, I would have had no problem. But no, it's just it's a fire extinguisher. What's up with that? And aside from the fact, it's an ugly-ass fire extinguisher. I mean, it doesn't look like anything, it doesn't do anything, it just hangs onto it. It's not even a shield. Wow. Because this is the shield right here. That's the shield right there. It's a forearm shield, and it's got a spear weapon on it, which makes this useless. And oh, by the way, what the hell is this up here? You're telling me they couldn't make another helmet out of this thing? This could have been used as a helmet and then have this thing sit on top and maybe some kind of a mishmash becomes a giant helmet? You telling me they couldn't do that? Keep the shield and the spear thing on here. That'd be fine. You want to put a blaster thing over here? That's fine. Why no helmet? You've done it 3 other times before. Why can't you do it now? So inconsistent. So inconsiderate. So unimaginative. I mean, what the hell is that supposed to be? What is that supposed to be up there? I have no idea. It's just decoration. I really don't like, particularly in parts formers, components that are there just for aesthetics. I mean, it needs to have some sort of function to it in the toy. I mean, I don't care if it does nothing in the show or not, but it needs to be part of an actual transformation, not just something that's plopped there and that's it. That, to me, is completely unacceptable, and just one of those things of parts formers that I really, really don't like. So, useless, could have been done differently. You already know that I'm not a fan of the Daitenku combination, so this really isn't an improvement in any way. As a matter of fact, I don't even know why it is that they kept the Kabuto's legs on the outside. Why not just put the legs back there? Because pretty much everything else is back where it belongs. Well, except for the Tora's head sitting down here. I kind of imagine like this is a targeting screen or something like that. Like the Daikai Shinken-Oh looks down at this, and then it shoots forward. That's what I think of it. But, yeah, why wasn't this incorporated somewhere up here? Why not stick it back under the front of the barrel? You know, stick it somewhere in there. No, it's got to sit back here where you can't. I mean, this should be how you're able to hold it. See, you need that space there in order to hang on to it.
in order to activate the gimmick. But no, they decided to make a big old cluster of it and just, they stuck random useless crap right there. Again, targeting scope. Set it up here. You know, set it right here so that the Daikai Shinken-Oh can look down the barrel or something. To be fair, though, this tripod is, I'm actually surprised how stable it is, despite what the instructions tell you.
Watch it, that's top-heavy.
This isn't the ugliest tripod I've ever seen, but it's pretty decent for what they came up with. So, I guess I can't complain here. But, again, the biggest complaint I've had about this whole thing here, they sacrificed so much here, here, and here just so they could tie these three origami together. But then, they didn't do anything about it here. Because, not that easy to get that off there. You see that big old hole right there? Oh wait, there is no hole there. It's completely flat. What they could have done, in my opinion, is set it up so that there could have been some sort of toothed gear or maybe even another one of the shoulder joint type thingies in here, so that when you turn this, the Tora disc would rub up against whatever this is in here, and it would turn the Ika disc, and then this thing would pop in and out. That, to me, would have been a crowning achievement of a cluster, you know, but no. And, oh yeah, it would have gotten this to move at the same time that everything else here does, just like it does in the show. But, nah, they didn't do that. They just decided to put the little spring thingy in there. Woo-hoo. And by the way, why isn't the Kajiki's tail sitting back here again like it was with the Daiteku? I mean, that would have balanced things out. You know what? They could have turned this into the handle for the blaster. Some sort of tripod handle or something like that. They could have done that with the Kajiki's tail back here. I mean, why even take this off? You know, have it plug into the chest of the Daikai Shinken-Oh. That would have been interesting. At least it would have physically connected them together. Actually have them snap together. You see, I'm coming up with these things off the top of my head 2 years after this toy came out. Why couldn't they have come up with it a year before the toy came out? You know, I don't quite get that. I am glad, though, that at least if it couldn't attach to the Daikai Shinken-Oh, at least there's an option to be able to put whatever Samurai Kyojin in there that you want to. You know, you can put the Shinken-Oh in there by itself. You can put the Daikai-O in there by itself. You can put the later Mogyu Dai-O in all by itself. At least they give you that option. And I kind of knew that already when I knew that I wanted to build the Ika Tenku Buster, is that it wasn't physically connected, although I wish it had handles back there or something for the Daikai Shinken-Oh, you know? So yeah, again, missed opportunity. Didn't look too bad, and I'm glad they actually kept all 4 of the Tora's legs integrated in there. So in the end, if the Dai Tenku doesn't float your boat, chances are this won't make much of a difference. It's funny, this is the 3rd time I've had to say that I think I'm pretty much done with collecting toys from Samurai Sentai Shinkenger. The last 2 times I've had to say this, about 6 months later, I found out, oh no, they're actually in stock over at this store over here online. And then I end up getting a bunch of them all over again. It's pleasant little surprises if one of the more unusual ways of collecting for a particular toy line that's ever happened to me. Usually I get it all in one swipe within a year, or I'll wait a couple of years unintentionally or not or whatever, and then just pick up a whole bunch all at one time. But to do it piecemeal like this is kind of confusing even for me. Even though the Shinkenger toy line ended 14 months ago, here I am still collecting toys from it. In fact, there's really only one other toy that I still want to get my hands on, and that is the Kyoryu Origami, which is the, I don't know if you can call it a repaint of the Shinken Maru, but it's an actual origami which uses the Shinken Maru as a base. That's really the only other toy that I really want to get from the Shinkenger line. I briefly considered the Rekka Daizento, but it just felt a little too outrageous or something kind of weird, and it was real. Oh my god, that thing was huge, you know? And, you know, those actually sold out pretty well, so my chances of finding one of those are pretty slim. So for the 3rd and probably last time, this is probably going to be the last time that you see me do any toy reviews from Samurai Sentai Shinkenger, at least on YouTube. I mean, I did a review of this on CollectionDX.com alone, and this thing is pretty sweet. It's $50, and I'm not going to be doing a video review of it but it's pretty nice to be able to have a posable Super Sentai giant robo, even if it can't combine or transform. This thing's got solid die-cast metal in the legs. This thing is awesome. But on the other hand, this was a bit of an unexpected purchase. But an awesome purchase nonetheless. I'll keep it. So I'm pretty satisfied with what I've got here. One last time, for toys that call themselves origami, they better behave like goddamn origami. Even if they're blocky, chunky, the proportions aren't very good. I mean, the only thing I really didn't like here was that the lower legs were a little too narrow, a little too stubby. They took care of that right here, by the way. But this can't transform. But yeah, I mean, I guess I'd have to sacrifice posability options in order to get something that transforms like an origami. Parts formers. Each and every one of them. Parts formers. No origami whatsoever. No folding paper. That's what I loved about this. If you're going to call them origami, they better behave like folding paper. And by the way, origami can also mean folding god or folding spirit or something like that. I see no folding in here whatsoever, except to that doesn't count. Because Bandai, Plex, Toei, do not sacrifice ever again the flexibility of an individual component or combinations just to give us a gimmick. And even then, spinning this thing was kind of interesting, but you weren't consistent about it. This doesn't have any spinning discs anywhere in it except for the shield, and the shield is, okay, that's fine. That's understandable. But no spinning disc, crappy spinning disc gimmick, and, looks like crap spinning disc gimmick. So the key word here is consistency. And this toy line doesn't really have much of it. Materials, paint applications, blah, 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 that's always good when you're talking about Bandai. But consistency of the gimmicks, consistency of transformation, things like that. That's the key thing that was missing from the DX-sized origami sets from 2009's Samurai Sentai Shinkenger. And so, this is AV Unit 4A for CollectionDX.com, signing off.
Gattai 気持ちも